Fernanda, I think we could start.
There, we can see you, Fernanda.
Let me check one more thing, please. Okay, we're gonna start now. Now we are on YouTube. First, hello, welcome to your lead action to tackle air pollution. My name is Fernanda Bedoya. I am the director of El Derecho a No Obedecer. I'm co-founder of the Latin American Coalition for Air Clean, for Clean Air. And for me, it's a pleasure to open this event within the frame of Clean Air. Now let me show. Let me show one thing, please. No, one second. Okay. Now you see some photograph of a symbolic action that we carried out yesterday in the city of Medellin, one of the most polluted cities in Colombia. And it's a pleasure to invite you to mobilize for clean air and blue sky today and the rest of the week. Without further ado, I give to it's nice to meet you. Introduce Juan Pablo Celis. Please, Juan Pablo, introduce. Juan Pablo is a representative of the United Nations Program, Environment Program. So, Juan Pablo, let's start.
Thank you very much, Fernanda. I think that you have to allow me to turn on my camera again. In the meantime, I see a lot of people are joining in online right now, and I see a lot of familiar faces, which is really good. While my camera is being allowed to turn on again, I want to welcome everybody to use their hashtags of hashtag World Clean Air Day and the hashtag of the air we share for today's event. I'm trying to turn on my camera in the meantime, as I have to be given permission. So Fernanda, if you could please give me back the permission to turn on my camera.
Can you try now, please?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today in this conversation about air pollution. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today. As I said, there is a lot of familiar faces in the attendees right now, and I'm very happy also to meet many other young people that are joining the cause to tackle air pollution. We are very excited to have you join this event in light of the International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies, which is observed under the theme of the air we share. which is focusing on the transboundary nature of air pollution while stressing on the need for collective accountability and collective action. Every single one of us, young people, including those in the most vulnerable places, are constantly exposed to air pollution, causing long-term effects in our health and in our well-being. And there is, very important information that I would like to quote from WHO and from UNEP, from the UN Environment Program, that we need to keep in mind when it comes to air pollution. Did you know that 99% of the world's population, 99%, is now breathing polluted air? And it is the world's largest environmental health threat. 7 million people die prematurely every year, with 90% of them in low and middle income countries. I want to play a kind of a little game with all of the attendees right now. I want you to raise your hand if you think that you've been affected by air pollution in some way. So I want you to raise your hand. I see that people are raising their hands. So if you have ever felt that you've been a victim to air pollution or that you've been affected by air pollution, raise your hand. I see 12 people raising hands, 13, 15, 16 people, okay, 18. I see everyone going up in 2022, 23, 27 panelists there. All the panelists also raised their hands. 26. If you've been affected by air pollution in some way, please raise your hand. I want to see how many hands can we see of those young people who have been affected by air pollution. 27. Okay, with the panelists now 32. Okay, almost everybody has their hands raised right now, and I think this is telling us something, right? We're hitting almost 40 now with the panelists 5, 26, 30. Okay, so it looks like everybody in some way has been affected by air pollution. And this is why we're calling this conversation today, because we want all of us young people to come together to discuss on the solutions and the alternatives on how do we tackle air pollution today? How can we make sure that we tackle this issue from its root cause, and that we ensure that the future generations have a healthy environment to live in? And air pollution is not really a standalone issue, neither when it comes to impacts, nor with regard to solutions. It's very inextricably interlinked to other global crises like climate change, like biodiversity loss, and other forms of pollution. And climate change, for instance, drives further air pollution. And for example, as we're seeing in the case of wildfires or higher ozone levels during heat waves, one cannot be resolved without addressing the other. So I want you to ask yourself, what do you think that is driving air pollution from our day-to-day activities? What are the things that we are doing today that are causing air pollution to increase? And I could give you a few of these points that caused air pollution in our day-to-day activities. One of them, which is very prominent, is transportation. Transportation contributes greatly to air pollution. It is one of the primary causes of air pollution in our cities. And another cause of this issue is burning trash and agricultural burning. These are things that also contribute to the issue. And heating and cooling is also something that causes air pollution, and household cooking with solid fuel and kerosene lighting also cause air pollution. So there are many things that causes these issues, some others bigger than other ones, but there are also many actions that we can take to tackle this problem. One of these actions that we can take is recycle our waste, walking and cycling, or use environmentally friendly transportation such as electric vehicles. So there are many things that we can do in our day-to-day activities that will help us contribute to this. And I wanna do one last activity with you again. I want you to raise your hand if you think that the air pollution issue is reversible. Do you think that we can solve air pollution, or do you think that this is too big of a cost that it might be impossible to solve at this stage? So if you think that is reversible, that has solutions, that we could do something about it, raise your hand. So I want you to raise your hand if you think that air pollution could be solved, that we could do something about it. So I want to see the positive people raising their hands, thinking that we could do something about these issues. I see 22 people raising their hands, 3 panelists. Okay, so there are many people being positive about this, which I think is great. I also understand those who didn't raise their hands and think that air pollution is too big of an issue, that there's really not, like a strong solution yet to tackle it. So I understand your point. I understand why you didn't raise your hand. Thank you for everyone for being part of this activity. We cannot really wait for the others to take action. We need to ensure that us as individuals, as young people, as young activists, we need to ensure that we take step-by-step changes in our everyday lives to be part of this solution. And I'll give you one clear example of a young person who has been active on tackling air pollution. UNEP has a program that is called the Young Champions of the Earth. And one of our young champions, Vidyut Mohan from India, co-funded a social enterprise called Takachar. It's an enterprise that is enabling farmers to prevent open burning of their waste farm residues and earn extra income by converting those residues into value-added chemicals like activated carbon on site. And he has been able to transform that issue of agriculture burning into something that could be utilized and that could be also, give an opportunity for those farmers to earn extra income. And just like the Young Champions of the Earth is a program of the UN Environment Program, just like this one, there are many other youth-focused initiatives that you could participate in. And air pollution is really at the core of what UNEP it's working on right now. And as you might have heard before, the triple planetary crisis of climate change, of biodiversity loss, nature, and pollution, it's really what drives us to make change. And air pollution is part of those causes that are amplifying this triple planetary crisis. So just like the Young Champions of the Earth, there are many other activities that you could join in UNEP, and I want you to, if you're interested in joining some of these activities, I want you to go to unep.org/youth and learn much more about what UNEP is doing on youth and air pollution. And I'm really pleased to see so many of you on the attending today, taking the lead on this cause on air pollution. And I encourage every single one of you to continue being the messengers for the air we share. Thank you very much for coming in today, and I look forward for the conversation ahead. Over to you.
Thanks, Juan Pablo. Thank you all for joining us. I said it before, but I'm saying it again. My Zoom doesn't allow me to put the background, so you're gonna see this beautiful tree. We're really excited for today. I think we have here a group of people that is really connected to fight air pollution and the climate crisis, which is awesome. And one of these greatest examples is something that has been growing in Latin America and the Caribbean, that recently actually had its first meeting and consolidated itself. That is the Latin American Coalition for Clean Air. That is a great example of civil society organizing to fight air pollution. Here today we have Daniela. Daniela, can you turn your camera on? I see your square, but I don't see you. Can you hear us? I think let's give Daniela 1 minute to see if she can hear us. So it seems that because technology happens, it seems like Daniela's PC computer blocked for some reason that we don't know, but she's trying to solve it. So what we're gonna do while we solve that is that I'm gonna introduce the other rest of the panelists, and then we go back to Daniela because life happens sometimes. So let me introduce myself and then introduce the panel. Hello everyone, my name is Alejandro Dali. I'm a 4 cities place migrant from Venezuela, currently living, no, I changed my places. I was living in Colombia and currently living in the United States. That was that's new. I'm a global shaper, part of the Global Shapers community. I work in environmental issues, particularly fighting air pollution as well. And I'm co-founder, as some of the people that you will see today, of the Latin American Coalition for Clean Air. I'm so happy to be here, to be representing many hats, but mainly young people and young people from different backgrounds. And I want to introduce you to the rest of the panelists. So first, we have Laura Romero. Laura Romero is a consultant on environmental health for the Pan American Health Organization. Laura, if you're here, you can turn your camera on. She's also co-founder of Las Marias al Aire and the Latin American Coalition for Clean Air, and a good friend as well of mine. So nice to meet you and nice to see you again, Laura.
Thank you, Alejandro. Thank you all for this space. I think it's very important to start talking as young people who are working for air quality and air pollution in the region. So I think our point of view is very interesting to improve and make solutions to this issue. And thank you all.
Thank you, Laura. Then we have Safin Matthews. Safin Matthews is program director at 1M1B from India. Hello, Safin, how are you?
Hey, Alejandro, great to be here, great to be part of the panel and sharing the stage with all the other panelists. I think it's a much needed conversation about youth-led action to fight air pollution. And we have been talking about climate change, which multiple things lead to it. And air is a very, very critical element to it. So looking forward to the discussion. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks, Safin. And finally, we have Omnia El Ombrani, the COP27 envoy on youth, a UNICEF young leader, a physician, a really good friend of mine, and someone that I really admire a lot. How are you, Omnia?
Hey, Ali, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited to talk about one of the key issues I'm so passionate about, which is the intersection between climate change and health through air pollution. So very happy to join you on behalf of my capacity as a physician, but also as the COP27 presidency envoy for youth, which is the first time that we have an envoy within the presidency team that really links youth perspectives and needs into the work of the presidency. So thank you for having
me. Thank you, Omnia. It seems that Daniela had an issue with her computer, so we're gonna do a switch in the agenda, and we're gonna start with the panel, and then afterwards close with Daniela. In case you're hearing that, Daniela, we're gonna do that. So I invite my fellow panelists, Omnia, Safin, and Laura, to turn your cameras on, and we're gonna start right now. And I think to start this awesome conversation, one of the key feelings I have with air pollution is that I really want this issue to matter as much as other issues on environmental action. So I think all the people that are here together today, we kind of share this feeling of the intersection between health and the environment, which is not necessarily obvious. And I want to start with that with you, Laura. I want to know a bit more on why did you started working on air pollution and why? How was that intersection between science, health, the environment for you?
Okay, again, it's my pleasure to be part of this panel and talk with all these young leaders in the region who are working in the region and the world who are working in the to give to society clean air. So I start working on air pollution when I did my research degree doing an analysis of the decision-making process to the environmental and local entities and how are they facing air quality contingencies in the Aburrás Valley. As Fernanda mentioned before, Medellin is one of the cities in the region who has difficulty to manage the episodes of air pollution, and this happened twice a year. So I was finally finishing my degree, and I started to think, what can I do to respond to this need in the city? So I did my research degree in this topic, more related to the managerial and this stuff. But my degree is public health, so I see the need to relate these things to health and how the people are getting sick for this exposure. So then I start to work as a young research of the Health and Environmental Research Group in the Universidad of Antioquia in a project who seeks to make social appropriation of knowledge of the results of this specific work. But there I saw the need to bring down all this information because it was a really interesting information on how the people in the city were getting sick of this exposure, and how to bring down all this information to the community to understand how you can get sick by bad air quality. So my friends and I start to talk as a millennials, because we are all millennials, to make a social media proposal to talk about this topic, specifically bad air pollution in the city in Medellin. And this is how Las Marías al Aire, born as a social media initiative to seek dissemination of knowledge on environmental health. We start talking about the phenomenon in Medellin specifically, but then we saw the need to have a big image of the region and on the world and all the topics related to air quality. Las Marías al Aire, we are 4 women in this group working and how to make this information more understandable for the general society. The idea is to the people from 5 or 16, 60 years old understand what is happening with their body and the environmental we are exposed to bad air quality in the cities. But also, I have the opportunity, as Alejandro mentioned in the first part, I have the opportunity to have a real regional image, being part of the Unit of Climate Change and Environmental Determinants of Health in the Pan American Health Organization as an environmental consultant. And with this work, I have the opportunity to see more in the entities, in the national entities, how they were working for develop capacity in the countries to work for environmental health things, especially air quality and water sanitation, chemical safety, and waste production. And now I am a founder member of the Latin American Coalition for Clean Air, and this is my background in the topic. As Alejandro mentioned, we think that the relation between air quality and health is very obvious for us, how we are been working this topic, but the real issue is how to communicate this information to the general public they see this obvious relationship as we see. So this is the main idea of Las Marías al Aire. This is the thing that most moved me to work in this area. And again, thank you for this space.
No, thank you, Laura, for the work that you're doing. We think it is obvious, but it's not, and that's why we're here. that's why we're here, because we need to solve that. How can we make sure that more people see air pollution for what it is? That is the highest, the most extreme threat we have for our lives as human beings right now. 1 of 5 deaths in the world are due to air pollution. Can you picture that? That's like a lot of people.
also trying to change the mindset of air pollution is only surveillance and managerial and all this with the yes of the surveillance of the air quality. No, this has a health implication for the people, and it's necessary to change the way that we speak for this. See this as a public health emergency in the world.
Exactly. I love that. So we're gonna go with you, Safin. We have a public health emergency. That's true. And we're seeing a lot of young advocates advocate for climate action all over the world. Particularly for you, Safin, what makes this issue your passion? And how do you think youth can advance in these measures of empowering and putting air quality on the agenda?
Right. Thanks for the question, Alejandro. And I would like to say that I'm extremely passionate about climate action, and especially towards enabling youth to take climate action. We have activated over 200,000 young boys and girls across India to take climate action through our organization, 1 Million for 1 Billion Foundation. Now, like you asked, I would like to base my answer on air quality aspect of climate action. Right. So clean and fresh air to breathe is one of the necessities of life. In spite of all the advancements made by the human race, if we do not have clean air, what is the point of everything? Where are we headed, right? Now, I'm from India, and as much as I'm proud to be an Indian, there are certain things I wish were better in the country. You know, as per a World Air Quality Report prepared by this Swiss organization called IQ Air earlier this year, 35 Indian cities are in the top 50 cities which are the world's most polluted. And this includes some of the top cities in the country where, majority of the population is. What's interesting is that the report also revealed that not a single country, right, managed to meet WHO's air quality standard in 2021. And this is right after the COVID-induced lockdowns, and we've all been on a rebound in terms of pollution as well. Now, according to this report, air pollution is now considered to be the world's largest environmental health threat, accounting for 7 million deaths around the world every year, 7 million deaths. And air pollution causes and aggravates many diseases ranging from asthma to cancer, lung illnesses, and heart disease. The estimated daily economic cost of air pollution has been figured at about $8 billion US, or 3 to 4% of the gross world product, right? Now, for all the advancements we make, all the money we mint, and everything else we do, having fresh water to drink, healthy food to eat, and clean air to breathe are prerequisites that trumps any amount of money one makes. And that's why I feel dearly towards this cause. I think young people have a big role to play in combating air pollution. After all, it's a question of their future as well. The unique and fresh perspectives of youngsters is crucial to finding creative solutions for air pollution. Today, we have a lot of disruptive technologies at our fingertips, like artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, etc. And we need to leverage these technologies to find solutions to the big threats that we face. And I believe youth can take the lead in this.
I mean, you were so inspiring that I just stayed there like, yes, yes, like, yes. So thank you for that, Safi. No, that was really inspiring. You're completely right. Actually, I will bounce you again, meaning that I will ask you another question to follow on, because I would like to know a bit more exactly what campaigning work are you currently doing, specifically on air pollution in India or in other places, because I really connect with what you just said, and I think this passion, this purpose we have to make sure that people see air pollution as the threat that we see it, and also, so connecting with what Laura said, that people, and particularly young people, feel that they can address the issue, because sometimes with air pollution you feel so helpless because you cannot see it. The thing with air pollution that is different to other environmental threats is that you cannot see it unless it's really bad, because it's invisible. It is invisible. But sometimes you cannot see it and it is still really bad. But also sometimes you cannot see it, but you're also changing it for the better. So in your experience, what are you currently doing in 1M, 1B in India to fight air pollution?
Sure. So at 1M1P, our mission is to activate 1 million young leaders who will impact 1 billion people for a sustainable and better world. Now, we engage youth to create solutions on for the SDGs, and air pollution is a big issue many of the youngster students are focusing on. Now, we do encourage youth to focus on exciting and diverse ways of bringing air quality into the mainstream. Now, be it city-specific awareness campaigns or discovering technology solutions to contribute to cleaner, safer air through discussions, innovation, and collaboration. Now, like you said, right, it's air pollution is there for all to see. All of us know, how much harmful the air that we're breathing in is, but what actions do we take? We, kind of think the government will take everything and do everything, right? But at the end of the day, it's again, actions by people like you and me, common people from the civil society that makes a difference. Simple actions that we do over a period of time can drastically improve the air quality in our environment. Now, if you look at in India specifically, a major source of air pollution are similar to what Juan said some time back, which include vehicular emissions, power generation, industrial waste, biomass combustion for cooking, crop and waste burning, etc. Now, through our mentoring and guidance with students, what we do is we enable high school students to develop solutions addressing many of the sources of air pollution. For example, using AI solutions to monitor quality of air and suggesting remedies to better air quality, technology-based solutions to reduce burning of crops and proper waste management, devices that reduce vehicular emissions, along with campaigns demanding measures by the local authorities to improve air quality, and at the same time, social media and other community-based campaigns to instill in people an awareness about this big threat and what are the simple actions that they can take to reduce pollution in different ways. So these are different ways in which our students are helping fight the menace of air pollution, and small steps, but when especially youngsters in high school start taking action, I'm sure sometime or the other people start noticing and the adults will follow.
Completely yes. We say in Spanish, yes to everything. That it translates sí a todo. That it translates yes to everything, meaning yes. So just checks to everything you just say, because it doesn't matter how old are you. We need to deconstruct the idea that air pollution is an only technical field, that only people with really technical skills can fight air pollution, which was the concept that we had before for climate change. And we did that change. We did the change to understand that everyone can take climate action, but that took us like a long time. And what we're trying to do is having the same conversation with air pollution. It's not just a technical field. It's just not, everyone can understand the troubles of air pollution, but also take action. And I'll go back to you, Laura, because Las Marias al Aire is a great example of young people taking action to fight air pollution, but also creating new information. Laura, what is something that our audience can do to fight air pollution? And through that, also explaining a bit on the survey that the Las Marias al Aire is currently doing and is trying to expand in Latin America. Let's hope so with the Latin American Coalition for Clean Air.
Cross fingers to let's hope this activity expand to all the region. So I think the best thing that our audience can do to contribute to action on air pollution is being curious, not only for the monitoring, as you mentioned before, or surveillance and managerial stuff, is also trying to understand what are doing local entities to reduce the citizen exposure to air pollution. And also making use of the tools to disseminate information related to the state of air quality in the cities. As you mentioned, the survey is the first survey of perception of the cities, of the social citizens in two cities. At the moment, we're two cities in Colombia, Bogota, and we are finalizing results in Medellin, and we are recollecting this moment information in Cali, Colombia. So see this an opportunity as the social part to contribute to the entities to the decision-making process. So as las Marías highlighted in Trébola and Derecho No Obedecer, other organizations, we developed this tool in order to cut this information of the perception. With the idea of this is to give this information to the local entities and tell them, look, this is how people are seeing the air quality in the city. This is how you can create a strategy of communication in order to they complete this image of the air quality in the city. So we are a social media generation. I think we have to make a strategic use of the platform, repeat, in order to they benefit us. And the most important thing is doing citizen oversight with the survey or with your Instagram, Facebook, or with I don't know how to say this in English, but derecho de petición, in going into the authorities and tell them you need to have more work from them in order to reduce your exposure to air quality. I think this is very important to bring these topics to the public agenda to see the importance of the air pollution, not only as the reduce of the exposure for the cars and the buses and all this stuff, but also to improve the public health image of this problem. So my recommendation is being curious and use the tools you have as your own to make this information of this information. And so with your family and your friends and have a discussion related to this topic.
Thanks, Laura. I actually don't know neither how to say derecho de petición. I think it's a citizen's petition, but if there's someone else that speaks Spanish here and know how to translate it to English, please let us know. We really appreciate it. Yes, definitely. The first thing is to understand if this issue is a problem for our community, because it may be a problem in real time, but people may not know that it's a problem. So we need to create awareness. And we can do this through different ways. As Laura said, having a real survey about the perception of people around air pollution, that's something it seems simple, but so powerful for public policy and policy making. Las Marías are doing that in different cities of Colombia. It's something that you can do, it's a survey actually. If you want to try that on your city, contact Laura because she can help you do that. And I'll put some other examples of what I have done in my past advocacy work. For example, once, that was 2018, we created a giant lungs with cotton in different public transport stations in Bogota. When we saw them, they were white. By the end of the day, they were gray due to air pollution. And that was like a really concrete way to tell people, look, this is what is happening to your lungs when you're breathing this polluted air. Or also yesterday in Medellin as well, we did this symbolic action that Fernanda showed at the beginning, where a dancer was dancing with a black plague mask, kind of understand how we will have to do our day-to-day activities with this kind of mask if we don't change the air that we are breathing and if we don't take concrete actions now. So one of the main ways to do that is shifting the narrative. So Omnia, if you're there, turn your camera on, please. And I would like to get deep more on how can we position in the public agenda that the climate crisis is also a health crisis. But I don't know, Omnia, if you're there. Fernanda, we need to upgrade Omnia to be a co-host so we can see her. I'm gonna do something little quick in Spanish. Fernanda, tenemos que hacer a Omnia speaker, por favor.
Done.
There,
Yes,
there you
here.
are, Omnia.
Yes.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna repeat the question just for the sake of it. So, how can we position in the public agenda that the climate crisis is also a health crisis? And I want to do a parenthesis to say that if you could please tell us your background, because I know it because I'm your friend, but if you could tell us your background so people know what is so important that you're the COP27 envoy on youth, because you have a very particular background that is not the common background and is something that is going to be really positive for air pollution fight.
Yes, exactly. So, hi everyone. I started working on climate change when I was a second year medical student, and that was back in 2017. I was working with the International Federation of Medical Students Association, the IFMSA, which represents over 1.3 million medical students from 124 countries. I think now they're 130. And I went to the COP24 in Poland. This was my first COP as an IFMSA delegate. I was so amazed by how medical students like myself, because IFMSA was going to COP for the past 10 years and even more, as well as we were working hand in hand with the World Health Organization, with the Global Climate and Health Alliance, emphasizing the importance of placing human health at the heart of the climate negotiations. But then I remember we were around 30 health professionals at the conference. The next year in COP25 in Madrid, I was the head of my delegation, and I saw that we have increased to over 60 health professionals, both policymakers as well as coming from doctors, nurses, practitioners, and so on. And then the biggest accomplishment we've had was during COP26 in Glasgow, where WHO had its first health pavilion. So instead of more just having side events at COP, we had a pavilion that had daily program of health-related events to climate change. So why climate change and health? The biggest entry point we had was through air pollution, because A, it leads to 7 million deaths every year, and then B, working on climate change, so climate mitigation actions, not just benefits economies as well as social societies and communities, but also improves health when it comes to the healthcare costs incurred by respiratory diseases, as well as aggravation of other cardiovascular illnesses, as well as impacting the work capacities of the community. But it also has benefits to the society when it comes to creating better jobs and improving access to healthcare facilities, as well as healthcare facilities themselves, utilizing clean energy resources and directing and being more climate resilient, as well as low carbon. So we were not just advocating for placing health impacts of climate change and its incurring costs, but also the health co-benefits to climate action when it comes to transitioning to clean energy and improving the population health, but also on an individual level, if we choose to, pursue physical exercise or utilizing cycling and other sustainable low carbon modes of transport, we are improving air quality, but we're also improving our physical health, reducing non-communicable diseases, and improving our mental health, which has been one of the detrimental impacts of climate change on our own mental health, by leading to eco-anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and so on. So also advocating for cleaner air is also improving our health and our mental health at the same time. So this is where my position comes in, because of my experience both with the World Health Organization, but also with UNICEF and several youth-led organizations like Yongo and the Global Coalition for Road Safety. It was so valuable to really bringing in my experience to the presidency, emphasizing how we as youth, we have a very powerful agenda, which is the intergenerational justice, as well as our health, the health of the current and the future generations to come, that needs to be placed at the heart of the climate agenda. And to place that in a way that is more practical is really adding a health angle to every agenda, whether it's adaptation, mitigation, climate finance, as well as gender. And this is what I am bringing in now to the work of the presidency, which is emphasizing not just the role of youth, but the role of health at the center of the COP and the UNFCCC processes.
I'm just like in awe, like of admiration for you. It's like, yes, Sonia, yes. Yes. I love it. Definitely, yes. I'm so proud for you because I know Omnia for the last 2 years. And I'm really proud of what you're doing. Like, it makes me feel that we have a better chance to putting our voice in the next COP. Now that because you're actually the first envoy on youth, right? The first, the very first one
Ever.
ever. The very first one ever, and also the very first one that also has a connection with health, a health background, a background on youth advocacy that probably a lot of people here have, either with Jongo, with UNICEF, with UNEP. So definitely a big yes, because it gives us real concrete examples of how our advocacy journey ends up in really concrete influences in the public policy making process. So sometimes as advocates, we think I'm following like a path of I'm following like not a straight path, like I'm doing things that are so not related between themselves. And you're like, oh my God, should I be doing this? Is this activity going to work? As you said, like UNICEF, the Global Coalition for Road Safety, and it ends up in this. And I wanted to bounce back with you, Omnia. How can us young people and how can we elevate more youth voices on the ground in international spaces? You're the first envoy on the COP for Youth. How do you think is going to be the youth process to elevate our voices in the next COP? But in general, what are some advices you will give us to elevate young voices in international spaces?
Yes, so my answer to your question would be three main things. The first, and this is really what my strategy for the envoy position with the presidency, after many consultations with many of my colleagues on how to not just enhance or improve youth engagement at COP, but to define what meaningful youth engagement in climate policy and decision-making processes. So first of all, to build the capacity of young experts and activists and climate solution makers in the COP processes and the climate policy space. As young people, we have a unique access to our community, doing a lot of instrumental grassroots action. And we are also young and bold when it comes to making our own solutions and policy asks to our decision makers. But first, we need to build our capacity in understanding the complex processes of COP. How do the negotiations work? How do the negotiations work? And then what is adaptation? What is mitigation? How can we infiltrate the processes with powerful, meaningful, and concrete inputs to the decision making? Because we now have the access to our governments, but we need, and also to our delegations, but we need to have concrete and very relevant and specific inputs to the process. Now is the time for the commitments to the Paris Agreement to be implemented. As youth, we need to be a key and a natural and an equal part to the implementation process as well as the evaluation process, because next year, this is the biggest stock take of the Paris Agreement, where we are now, where we want to be, and how can we drive the urgency and the seriousness that is needed, because right now we are not, and countries are not delivering enough. There is an inadequate, delayed response to the climate crisis as well as the air pollution crisis. And we need youth-led voices and actions on the ground to drive this urgency. We also now working on defining and creating intergenerational dialogues where youth are no longer just speaking in youth-focused events, we're not just speaking to one another, we are speaking to the policymakers in a way that is meaningful, solution-oriented, with concrete outcomes coming out of our discussion. We are going to have the Youth and Future Generation Day on November 10th, and we are going to create 2 intergenerational dialogues between negotiators and young experts and practitioners on the ground to come up with solutions for adaptation and for mitigation, with climate finance cross-cutting across the 2 main themes of COP. This COP will also be an adaptation COP because it is in Africa, and we want to increase the focus on not just mitigation, but also adaptation, which is very important for youth experts to be part of the conversation. The third thing, and very important for youth, is to utilize the COP momentum to amplify your work, your grassroots initiatives. There are so many youth-led actions done, but we still don't have a platform where all these initiatives are being consistently shared, not just for governments to acknowledge the work led by youth, but also for private sector and civil society to engage with youth and support our work, amplify it, and aggravate its impact on the ground. So very concretely, what can you do after our webinar right now? There is the COI, which is the Conference of Youth, taking place right before COP. So please check it out. The website will be launched very soon. It would be amazing to have young experts participate in this forum, because it will develop a global youth statement that is going to be presented to the presidency team to be integrated in the negotiation processes. And the second thing is that if you are in your country, look for opportunities to be part of your party delegation to get the access to the negotiation process and deliver inputs. If you will not be able to go to COP, then participate and hold your own consultations so that you have concrete youth inputs delivered to COP. It's not just about COP, it's also about post-COP, to be part of the policymaking processes held on a local, on a national and regional level, because this will feed into the preparations for COP28. So you need to work now for COP27, but also learn and work together to develop and follow up on the decisions made at COP, and how can we leverage that on a local level, and then take it to the intersessionals at Bonn, and then take it on to COP28. So sum up, COI, your own consultations ahead of COP. We are 60 days away from COP. So it's a very critical momentum to both amplify your work, but also deliver concrete policy asks, especially when it comes to mitigation, when we're thinking about air pollution perspectives, as well as climate finance, as well as leveraging the needs of the vulnerable communities who still need their voices and their frontline stories front and center to the COP agenda. And also I'm here for any ideas, consultations that you would like to do, and you would like me to really deliver your inputs to the presidency.
I'm such a fan of you, Omnia, but you already know that. But I'm so happy because I mean, I think the first step that you told before, the strengthening the capacities, that's so important when we're talking about environmental action, particularly in this intersection, because it is a tricky process, and also it is not an easy field to work on. There are some really technical issues here, but we can make it happen. We as young people have completely the tools to shape the agenda, and also think about it like we can change things sometimes at the local level, but sometimes it's easier for us to have influence at the international level because the local level is really complex in some countries. But you can have those different levels of influence as a young people. You can be part of a regional COI, but also be part of an international process like Youth for Climate, but also be part of a grassroots movement organization in your own community to change the narrative. And all of those are concrete examples of influence. So I want to have 1 minute recommendation for with all the panelists together. So if Laura, Omnia, and Safi, could you turn on your cameras before we close up this part? I would like you to give us, in less than 1 minute, one main takeaway that you would like our audience to take to take. We'll start with you, Laura.
Okay, so bad air quality affects that 99% of the global population of these days, and every year we have 7 million persons are dying because of that. And I think this not only because individual responsibility. For me, it's important to bring out in these spaces to the co-responsibilities of all actors in these problems. It's important that the public policies give the real responsibilities to the industries and the other areas that are really, really affecting the air we share. So that's why as a citizen, we have to bring this topic to the public agenda to get the attention of the general public to see this as a public health emergency. So the co-responsibilities in the are important in these topics because they give the real responsibilities for the exposures.
Let's go with you, Safin.
Sure, yeah. So what I would like to say is that air is an essential element for human survival, and the fact that air is pure is an exponential benefit to that survival. For the best quality of life, the air that we breathe must be the purest as possible, because air nourishes with oxygen our lungs, the blood, and the rest of the body, right? And surprisingly, indoor air is 5 to 10 times worse than the outdoor air, according to WHO studies, even in urban areas. And breathing clean air can lessen the possibilities of diseases from strokes, heart diseases, lung cancer, etc. So now I would like to urge our audience to think of human survival first. Let's use our collective efforts to ensure that we and the future generations don't have to pray for clean air and choke through our lives. Cutting down the pollution of air caused by all our innovations and actions should be a priority. So let's take action, do everything we can to reduce air pollution. This is the air that we share, not just amongst ourselves, but with other living organisms, animals, and plants as well. So let's unite to make our planet greener and our air purer. Pure air might just be the solution to the survival of the human race. Thank you.
Couldn't say it better. Omnia, are you here with us? Yes. One final takeaway for our audience.
Yeah, I think it's so important to always use the science, especially when it comes to the health impacts of air pollution. It empowers our argument and the urgency that we bring, but also we have to try to protect our health when we are ourselves advocating for climate change and air pollution. And then finally, to be persistent and not to give up, because there is a long way to our advocacy, but there's also many success stories and actions that we need to take on and be persistent in our demands, as well as our follow-up. So my final message would be, see you at Sharm.
I mean, it is a hard process, but I think we need to make it less hard and also enjoy the commute, let's say. I think I will do the same exercise. Before giving the word to Daniela, so we can close with that, and let's see if we have time for answering one or two questions. What my takeaway for you will be, we can definitely change this situation. I mean, air pollution and the connection between air pollution and the climate change, which are the short-term life pollutants, we can definitely shape that. And to give you some concrete examples of what we have done in Colombia and in Latin America, we have trained over 300 people to use low-cost sensors to monitor air pollution in their communities. And we give these sensors to people to young children in schools, or to community members that are organizing at a local level. We have organized a national campaign that is currently happening in Colombia and Latin America every single year for the last 4 years, that has mobilized over 5,000 people to advocate for air pollution. We have influenced public policies at the local level in Colombia, in Medellin, but also in the national level, in the national planning. So it is possible. I think the first barrier that we need to face is I don't have the tools to do it. And I'll give you that short story before giving the word to Daniela. I remember my first time I went to a meeting to talk about air pollution. It was a very typical standard group of old white men and Alejandro. And I stood there and I didn't understand anything that they were saying. And I remember leaving the place saying, I'm not gonna do this. I mean, there's no way that I'm gonna understand what is PM 2.5. I don't have a background on engineering. I understand what they're talking about. NO2, like, this is so scientific, it's so science. See me here, and 4 years later, I understand, and sometimes I even explain them things. I'm way younger. I just did the work, understood the work, on how to empower other people to do it. We need to open the field for more young people. That's our role. And if we leave this conversation knowing that we can empower other young people to do the same thing that we're doing, we did it. We did it. We're celebrating the world clean air as we should have been. So before we close, 2 things. If you want to share this on your social media, please do with the hashtag World Clean Air Day or the air we share. We love to hear your inputs on the social media as well. Finally, I don't know, Daniela, if you're there, I will ask you, Daniela, to close up due to the change of the agenda.
Yes, I'm here.
Can you try turning on your camera?
I will. I hope it's not gonna break my computer again. But I would try. It says I need permission for share my video.
Fernanda, if we can zoom.
Can you try again, Daniela, please?
Yep. Okay, it seems it's working. Yeah, hello.
Yeah, yeah, we did it. We did it. Let me introduce you to Daniela. Daniela is another young Colombian activist, advocate, and so many other hats. Also co-founder of the Latin American Coalition for Clean Air. And we wanted to begin, but now end this webinar, showing to the world a good concrete example of something that can be done to change the narratives. And it's a good example of regional advocacy work. So Daniela, if you can tell us a bit more on the Latin American Coalition for Clean Air, what are their objectives, where are they going?
Yes, of course, Alejandro. Thank you so much for this invitation. I was actually listening all the panelists and learning a lot of different, a lot of you and a lot of the different experiences and initiatives that you have around the world. And as you previously said, Alejandro and also Laura, who is also co-founder of this coalition, it was an amazing experience. And I'm really glad to share with you what happened during the week that we were together here in Bogota. So from August 10 to 12, the Latin American Citizen Meeting to Clean Air was held in Bogota, Colombia. And this initiative was carried out with the aim of, first of all, strengthening the connection between air quality, public health, and climate justice. And also, the idea of this meeting was to exchange learning from different participants and building international collaboration networks through Latin America. So with that purpose, the meeting brought together young people, researchers, representatives of civil society, international organizations, and public officials from Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Brazil, and Mexico. And it was, I am sure I can say this, it was like the first time that we brought together all of these people to talk about clean air, climate justice, and health in Latin America, and especially because it was the main public was young people sharing with us their initiatives. So during the first day of meeting, we had the International Sitting Forum for Clean Air, and it was attended by a total of 200 people. And during that space, we exchange experiences, the creation of lines of cooperation, and the definition of action strategies for climate justice. During different discussions, the meeting served to reaffirm that the fight for clean air is also the fight to reduce greenhouse gases and confront the climate crisis, as well as is necessary to guarantee the right to health of people in the region. So the event also confirmed the importance of citizen science, as was saying Alejandro, in which individuals are working to demonstrate the true levels of exposure to poor air quality in different cities of the region, as well as in different environments. During those days, more and more citizens share with us that in Latin America, we are feeling and seeing that air pollution and the climate emergency is a really public health problem. And it's also a problem that is increasing. So we already know that most of the sources of air pollution in cities are beyond the control of people, and addressing them requires structural measures by governments. But also we learned during those days that we have to work together, that sharing different experiences during the meeting, we noticed that despite the magnitude of the problem, public actions and policies to improve the air we breathe are not fully standardized or are not enough. So we have to do something else. We have to work together, share our experiences, share our initiatives, and combine them in order to be stronger and go further in what we would like to achieve, that is a clean air for Latin America and of course for the world. So in that sense, and aware of the opportunity, meeting participants founded the Latin American Coalition for Clean Air, or Coalición al Aire in Spanish. After this event, the first Latin American Citizen Coalition for Clean Air was created. And this is an amazing news. It's a coalition of over 20 different organizations of the different countries in the region that I mentioned before. And we would like to work around three main objectives, or as coalition, we will focus to respond to three primary goals. The first one is to positioning a narrative that links air as a strategic priority in the public health and climate crisis agenda in Latin America. The second one is to influence public policies to better manage the sources that deepen poor air quality in Latin America. And the third one is to promote conditions so that civil society and the business sector are linked in compliance with regulations, policies, and improvement of air quality in Latin America. What is unique about this effort is that is the plurality of actors, voices, ambitions from civil society in the global south connected to improve the air we breathe. The creation of this coalition is a fundamental step towards improving the air we breathe across the region. And the idea that we have is to empower the efforts of citizens, academics, organizations, and other actors while contributing to the achievement of a regional agreement for the development and implementation of public policies that finally improve air quality and protect the human health. Of course, we would like also work as an example to the creation of other citizen coalitions in the world, because as we already mentioned, in the face of environmental justices like poor air quality and its harm to human health, our societies respond together. And we used to organize in similar ways without even know it. But working together, we can go farther. So the call or the takeaway from the Al Aire coalition is that we have to respond together and work in coalition. So we really aim for a great Latin American convergence of cooperation for clean air, and of course from being inspiration to other regions to do the same. Thank you so much for this space, Alejandro.
I think that thank you, Daniela. I think Alejandro is having some technical issues, but I'm happy to support on this side. Thank you, really, Daniela. I think it is very important what you've mentioned and the coalition that you've developing. We know with the help of many other youth advocates. You're back with us, Alejandro. I was trying to fill in while you were out, but over to you again.
Thank you, Juan Pablo. My internet collapsed for a minute, but now we're back again. If you can hear me well, I think you can. Thank you, Daniela. The Latin American Coalition for Clean Air is an excellent example of something that we can do as young people to gather voices. I will leave you with a question for you to ask yourself. We'll still have one more thing to do before that, but do you know if there's a network working for clean air in your communities? Could you, I will do the same thing that Juan Pablo did. Could you raise your hand in Zoom if you know if there is a network working for to fight air pollution in your community, your city, or your country? Let's see hands. We have one hand. No, we should have more. No. We should have more. We have two hands. Okay. We have no, because I'm worried. If we don't have, we need to, because the first thing will be, okay, we have three hands. Keep raising hands. I'm getting worried. About the future of the world. No, kidding. We're gonna fight this. While we're raising hands to see if we have examples of green coalitions or networks fighting air pollution, I wanted to thank everyone that asked us questions in the Q&A. So I see we have questions from Michelle, Mohammed, Rukadwe, and sorry if I mispronounced your name, Henry, and Suki. Yes, so we have time for, I was reading Suki's question. We have time for one or two questions. I'm gonna let Juan Pablo choose the two questions. If you're on the chat, Juan Pablo will randomly choose two questions. We're sorry for those that the questions we were not able to solve, but we'll make sure Juan Pablo and I to answer those questions afterwards.
Yeah, Juan Pablo, if you could giving me the floor, Alejandro, and thanks everybody for being so active on the Q&A. I see Michelle, you also raised a question. You're saying, hi, this is Michelle from JCIC. I am so glad to come to this Zoom webinar. I have one question, which is what do you do? What do you think about resolving the air pollution from reducing carbon emissions? Perhaps this is a question that our panelists could also take on to. And I just want to give also a shout out to Mohammad Hassan Sayed for your question, Rukabwe Bernard for your question as well, Henry Velasquez for commenting on the chat as well, Zu, thank you for your comment as well. So I think Michelle's question is kind of overarching about all of the other questions that I think would be good to answer. So perhaps, I'm not sure if maybe Safin or Omnia, you would like to take on this question. What do you think about resolving the air pollution from reducing carbon emissions? So is this something that is interconnected? Do you think that by reducing carbon emissions, we're also reducing the air pollution issue? Omnia, I see your hand is raised. I'll give you the floor.
Yes, so I think this is one of the areas which really links with mitigation, the idea of how can we reduce the harmful impacts of, carbon emissions, which is air pollution. And this is where we can bring in the health argument, because air pollution leads to many deaths annually, millions actually. But then reducing carbon emissions is a way that reduces mortality, and that's why it needs to be urgently done. And this was during Glasgow, a key area that had a lot of really groundbreaking commitments from countries, because they accelerated the mitigation agenda with very ambitious goals. And this is directly linked to when we are transitioning to low carbon alternatives similar to like clean energy, we are reducing the emissions that lead to air pollution and its associated mortality. So air pollution is always like a key entry point or link between health, climate change, and carbon emission reduction.
Thank you very much, Omnia. I think this is a very, very clear answer from your side as the COP27 Youth Envoy. And I see that Jeremy, your hand up. I could give you a a few seconds, so if you want to say something about this. Okay, I think your hand is down. So maybe it's Michelle, do you want to respond back to this? I see your hand is up. Michelle, so I'm giving you quick. Okay, so I think that Michelle, you want us? I give you the space to open the mic. Now I added you as a panelist. You want to say a few words on this?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. And my name is Michelle. I'm so glad to join this Zoom seminar. And we are actually a nonprofit organization, which is GCIC, which is called Global Climate Innovation Center. And basically, we aim to support towards the zero carbon action proposed by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And we aim to work together to achieve the goal of reducing carbon emissions. And I know like this is the same problem like global warming and also as well as air pollution. And actually in our country and around the world, air pollution is a long-lasting task and as well as a climate change. So, and thank you for answering my question because we aim to tackle the climate change and also the air pollution. And I just want to ask you, and what do you think about to achieve the zero carbon, and how this relate to the air pollution?
Thank you very much for coming in and for your words, Michelle. I think the great work that you're doing, it's really a clear example of how young people are really taking action on the ground at the grassroots levels to ensure that we tackle air pollution. Unfortunately we are running out of time, so I would definitely we could connect online and keep the conversation going. So please reach out to us at UNEP as well in unep.org/youth. You could also go down to the page and subscribe to our information of opportunities and moments that you could participate in. Thank you for being here today. I want to take a group photo with everyone, all the panelists. If you could activate your camera once again, Safin, Omnia, if it's possible for you to activate your camera, Laura, Daniela, Fernanda. We wanted to take a group photo to do a really nice tweet online of the conversation. Okay, I see everyone's turning the camera. Great. Thanks for also using the background of the event of today. All right, great. I think I'm gonna take a screenshot so everyone smile. Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone, once again for being in this panel today, and everyone who attended this conversation. This doesn't end here. We continue advocating for air pollution. It's one day that we commemorate the International Day for Clean Air, but it's every day that we need to continue working on this cause, keeping the work up. So I hope to see you all very soon. And